Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to Revest Fishing. It's finally here, second favorite time of the year, fall. Finally here, 2020. Today is actually Labor Day when I'm shooting this. Didn't get out on the water this weekend, but did want to shoot a video for you guys about my favorite fall fishing baits. Fall's finally here. Right now it's sunny, about 83 degrees outside. Yesterday was hot, the day before was hot. Tomorrow's supposed to be in the 60s, the next day's supposed to be in the 60s, the next day's supposed to be in the 60s, next weekend in the mid 70s. So we're finally here. We're gonna get lows consistently in the 50s overnight. So fall fishing finally here. Things are gonna be changing, lakes are gonna be changing quickly, water temperature is gonna be dropping, those fish are gonna be moving if they've already haven't moved a little bit. So today I wanted to go over with you guys my top 10 favorite fall fishing baits. These are the baits that I throw the most in the fall. Obviously I throw other stuff too, but if I had to pick you know, just 10 rods to have or 10 baits that I wanted to throw in the fall, these are my top and favorite baits. So let's start with number 10. Alright, so number 10 is a bait that probably everybody is familiar with. There's a lot of, you know, if you're a bass fisherman, if you're not familiar with it, you need to get some right away and start throwing them. And that would be, the first would be a Keitech swing impact, the fat swing impact. I throw it on a there's two kind of main ways, or three main ways that I rig this in the fall. One, I like to throw it on a straight up jig head. I'm a smaller jig head guy, 1/8 ounce to 1/4, depending on what I'm fishing. So like if I'm down at Lake of the Ozarks, I might throw it on a 1/4 ounce head, get it just beneath the docks, swimming out for looking at those suspended fish on their docks on corners. Another way I like to fish it that I've had some success on actually down at Lake of the Ozarks is throwing it on a drop shot. Throw it on a drop shot with a heavy weight, 1/4 to 3/8 ounce drop shot weight, and I just pitch it next to the docks on those deep docks and just let it pendulum back. I don't even do absolutely nothing with the rod, just hold it, let the weight pull that, and the bait just swims freely by itself. And the third way would be on an underspin. That's something I'm really going to experiment with a lot this year, is throwing baits on an underspin. So my favorite color by far is the slight flash. In the Keitech. I also like their sexy shad. Big fan of the 3.3. I feel like it gives you a big enough profile to catch a big fish, but also small enough profile to get a lot of bites. So the 2.8 I don't throw a lot. I do throw some of the 3.8, but by far the 3.3 slight flash is my favorite color. So let's move on to number 9. So number 9 in my countdown is two baits that are synonymous completely, or one bait that is synonymous with fall fishing, and that is a Fluke style bait, soft jerk bait. So we'll start with the original. This is a Super Fluke Junior. So I actually like the regular Super Fluke in the fall. I actually don't have any regular Super Fluke, so that's going to be on my list here to pick some stuff up to get ready to fall fish. This one is actually the junior size, Super Fluke Junior. I don't like the Fluke, it's a Super Fluke specifically. It's a little bit different, so I like that. And so I generally rig up the Super Fluke Junior on a 2 or a 3/0 hook, depending on the weight, how much the fall and stuff you want to have, how heavy you want it. And then for the regular Fluke style bait, I like to throw it on a 3 or a 4/0, depending on, again, the fall that you want. And then there's also a bonus way that I've rigged it that I've never really had some success, but it looks awesome. And that's actually, you take a pop rivet and you stick the rivet through the head of the bait, and it comes out right there. And then you actually run your line through and you put a treble hook. So obviously on this bait it wouldn't really work because it's too small, but you can put a rivet through there, run your line, tie it to a treble hook, and pin it in the back like those swim baits. That'll give it to you good if they're not getting your bait, if they're swiping at it and you're not able to hook up on the Fluke, which is pretty common. You can rig it up that way and you'll get some of those fish. All right, so the second part of the number 9 bait would be the this is actually so this would be a larger Fluke. That'd be closer to the regular Fluke style, but this is actually a KVD Caffeine shad. So I like to throw the Caffeine shad. It's a lot heavier, it's way more salted than a regular Super Fluke, so it does give you a lot heavier. This would be a good bait. You could throw this on a bait caster, where a Fluke's a lot harder to throw it on a bait caster, and you mainly got to stick with the spinning gear. So rig it up the same way, 3 or 4/0 hook. You could even go up to a 5/0 hook. This bait is plenty big enough for it to hold a 5/0 hook. Both, oh, I didn't mention, I do like the extra wide gap hooks for this. I'm an extra wide gap, not a straight shank. Extra wide gap on almost everything that I do. So throw 4, 5/0, 3/0 extra wide gap hook on this bait caster, same type of thing, soft jerk bait. Throw it up next to the side of the boat docks, over the top of some grass beds, next to any laydowns, anything like that will get you paid. And you can actually work this one close to the surface. Since it is heavier, it won't blow out as easy as the regular one. So let's move on to number 8. Alright, so the number 8 bait in the top 10 is a bait that literally got me to the BFL All-American as a co-angler back on Kentucky Lake a long time ago, back when I fished Illinois Division. And that is a Strike King Red Eye Shad. I've had success for this bait in the fall multiple times. As you can see, this one doesn't have much paint left to it. Just a chrome and blue back. It's a bleeding one. I've caught a ton of fish on a Red Eye Shad. Really, the fall is the only time of the year I even throw a Red Eye Shad, which I probably should throw more, but for me it's almost strictly just a fall bait. And when I'm talking about working this bait in the fall, I work it one way in the fall, and I'm going to go to the back of the creeks, some stained water, and I'm going to burn this bait as fast as I can throw it. I'm going to throw it back in the shallowest water, and I'm going to burn it up, and it's just going to burn right across the top of the surface. And really, I stick with 3 colors for the Red Eye Shad, and I almost exclusively stick with a 1/2 ounce. I have thrown a 1/4. Occasionally I don't go bigger than a 1/2 though, so either a 1/4 or a 1/2. I do like the 1/2 though, is a better all-around bait. So I really stick with 3 colors. So really, if you're in mild visibility, I'd say, you know, you're 2 foot, 3 foot, you know, that 2 to 5 foot. I like the chrome and blue back. This is actually a bleeding bait. If you're in clearer than that, if you're in, you know, 5+ foot of visibility, then I like this kind of like a clear sexy shad. I don't know the actual name. I'll put the name in the description for you guys. For all the baits, all the colors that I like, I'll put the names of those baits in the description for you guys. But I really like that color. Little chartreuse line through there. I think it might be a summer sexy shad or a clear sexy shad. And then if you're working with really dirty water, you know, less than a foot of visibility, 1.5 of visibility in that real dirty water, then I like this tropical color, like blue Chartreuse type color. It's got blue bag, little green on the side, and then mainly that Chartreuse belly. I like that one in the dirty water. And they're all fished the same way. You're super shallow and you're burning it right across the surface. So let's move on to number 7. Alright, so number 7 is a bait that every fisherman probably has, whether you're a bass fisherman or not. Almost everybody's going to own one of these and almost this exact bait. So, and that would be a Strike King KVD 1.5 or the Strike King KVD 2.5. So it's just a Squarebill crankbait. You really can't go wrong with the Squarebill crankbait almost any time of the year. You can always catch fish on it in spring, fall, summer, probably even in the winter, depending on where you're at. But really, this is a bait that I'm going to go and I'm going to bang on wood in the fall. I'm going to throw it up similar to how you fish it in the summertime and fish shallow, and I'm just going to come burn that bait and I'm going to hit it off stuff and get it to deflect sideways and really try to get that reaction. Same with docks. You can actually throw this bait and get it underneath the boat docks. I throw it past the corners and get it under the corner of the dock. So throw it on the outside, bring your rod to the other side and have it swim right underneath. Same with the 2.5 if I'm looking for around a little bit bigger bait fish, a little bit bigger profile of a bait, maybe dirtier water, you need to move a little bit more water, that 2.5 is good there. And as you can see, really I have both of these same color. I'm a sexy shad guy. If you're really chocolate milk water, I'm chartreuse and blackback. I mean, I stick to those 2 colors almost exclusively for squarebill fishing, shad or chartreuse and black. And squarebill fishing is pretty basic overall. I casted, reeled in. Like I said, I just intentionally try to run it into stumps, laydowns, stand-up trees, pulls on docks, anything like that. You're just trying to run it into it and get that reaction strike as much as you can. Let's move on to number 5. Alright, so number 5 in the countdown is one of my all-time favorite baits. And I really haven't thrown it much this year. I'm kind of disappointed in myself. I've kind of not really thrown them very much at all. It's really a early spring bait, but I've also caught it in the summer, so I'm not really sure why I threw it. But that is a Spro RkCrawler. So another crankbait similar to the last 2 categories have been crankbaits. They're just different, right? You have the Red Eye Shad, you're burning it, the Squarebill, you know, fishing that 3 to 5 foot range. And then if I'm doing a RkCrawler, I'm fishing that deeper 6 to 12 foot range. If I'm targeting fish specifically in that one, and I'm really grinding this. I mean, you can see that bill is just tore up. The bait is tore up. It's been in the rocks. This is like the 3rd set of trebles. and I throw that rock crawler. I mean, that's just, it's always going to catch fish in the Ozarks areas. It's just such a good bait. Getting down in there, digging through the rocks, looking like a crawdad, bouncing around. You get those reaction strikes. Looks like a crawdad, looks like a bluegill. Just flat catches fish. It's a great bait. And for color for the rock crawler, if it's clear and any type of visibility, like decent visibility, I love the Phantom Green. It has that Chartreuse tail. And let me tell you, that Chartreuse tail, or that orange Chartreuse, orange tail. Let me tell you, that orange tail, like, those fish almost always seem to get that bait like that, where they get that orange in their mouth. And then the second color I like to throw is that Summer Crawl. It's just a brown with Chartreuse belly, and that's if I'm looking for really dirty water, or fishing really dirty water. All right, now let's move on to the number 5 bait. So number 5 in my countdown is a bait that you have to tie it on year round, but in the fall, it's a different profile for me. It's just a different style bait. I really like throwing in the fall. I had good luck last year on the Ozarks in the Mobass State Tournament, and that is just a black and blue jig. If I'm throwing a jig, unless it's super clear water, then I'll throw some green pumpkin. But if there's any type of stain whatsoever, the black and blue in the fall just seems to get bit a little bit better. And really for a jig, it's your personal preference on what you like, right? This is a flipping jig. This is a J&J's from Burton's Bait and Tackle. I like the finesse jig, finesse head jig. So really for me, a jig is about the weight and about the profile. So I rig that. I rig almost, I'm not quite exclusive, I'm almost exclusively throwing the 3-inch Berkely Chigger Craw for my jig trailers. And so we'll just rig one up real fast for you. We're taking that, we're just dropping it right in the center, pushing it down, get it to come out the center of the other side, slide it up the hook shank, and there you go. That's the bait that I'm going to be throwing this fall when I'm flipping. So this is the same thing, flip boat docks, flip hardcover is really what you're looking to flip. Anytime I'm throwing that hardcover and I can't get them to bite on a reaction bite, or I can't get them on a Squarebill or something like that, then I'm going to slow down. If the bite is slow, I'm going to throw down, I'm going to pitch this jig around that wood, let that trigger crawl work, and see if we can catch them that way. So let's move on to number 4. Alright, so number 4 is a bait that is the probably most obvious fall fishing bait that there is out there to throw. When you think of fall fishing, the number 1 bait that people probably think of is a spinnerbait. And I have 2 different spinnerbaits here that we're going to talk about. So I don't have my bait out here, but really I'm a big Chartreuse and white fan. If there's any type of stain on the water, I like that Chartreuse and white, and I'll switch the blade combinations to a Willow Colorado, double willow. Really in the fall, the double willow and Willow Colorado, and then this is actually a unique bait that at Burton's Bait and Tackle called a Hurricane. That's a great fall bait. But really the 2 colors I'm sticking with the fall, Chartreuse and white, and then white. But if the water's really dirty, if you got really dirty water, I'm throwing that orange kicker blade. So last year, Lake of the Ozarks, for example, the water was really dirty. Wasn't great visibility or anything like that, and I caught my fish on that orange with that orange kicker blade, and I couldn't get bit on any other spinnerbait unless I had that flash of orange. So that's kind of a key there on that muddy water. It seems like in the fall especially, they really like that orange blade. But otherwise, I'm just going to stick with white. Blade combinations, I like the silver. Now this one is more of my dirty water spinnerbait, so I got the gold with the orange kicker. But really in the fall, I'm looking for white, and I like that nickel, chrome, whatever you want to call it, flash. I'm looking for that flash. That's what I'm looking for, to try to stick out a little different from those balls of bait fish. And this is the same thing, you're throwing this around the same as you are that Squarebill, rock, trees, docks, really anything you can throw at in the fall throwing a spinnerbait. And it's the similar to the red-eye shad, where you're going to be working it pretty fast. This isn't a throw a spinnerbait and just really creep it along. You're going to be moving this bait, you're going to be covering water, you're going to be doing whatever you can to find those active fish and catch them. So with that, let's move on to number 3. Alright guys, so the number 3 bait for me in the fall is a bait that I had really good success on last year. Timmy G in the back of my boat this year has caught so many big fish and so many good fish on a buzzbait that it's just a bait that you have to throw in the fall. and I think it feels like it's a little bit overlooked. I mean, we have a bait here that's coming up that probably replaced the buzzbait in a lot of people's boats, but for me, you have to throw that buzzbait. This is a custom-made buzzbait at Burton's Bait and Tackle. You definitely, he makes a fantastic buzzbait. It's got a great clacking, great squeak into it. And it's the same thing, white. I like the silver blade, similar to the spinnerbait. This is rigged up Timmy G style. I'm gonna give you guys the secret for Timmy G. It's a little different because I dyed the head of mine red. He doesn't do that, but you take that Zoom split tail trailer, thread it on there, and then thread on that trailer hook. So that, I mean, that's the Timmy G special right here. This buzzbait, white buzzbait, silver blade. You got that white, that pearl split tail, and then that trailer hook. I mean, that's the bait you want right there. That's the bait he's caught all those big fish behind me on this year in our team tournaments and out fishing. Yeah, so with the buzzbait, you're really going to be focusing on covering water. They'll get really aggressive and eat this thing. They'll eat it all the way into the December time frame around here. You can get bit on a buzzbait for a long period of time till that water gets in the 40s, and even then in the 40s it can happen, but really it's a long period where you got to have that buzzbait tied on. You got to be slinging it, and it's I don't know that a buzzbait's a bait that you're going to get, you know, 50 to 100 bites a day on. You might only get, you know, 5 to 10 bites, but when you get those 5 to 10 bites, they're going to be big fish. Last year in the state tournament, Mo Bass at Lake of the Ozarks, Timmy G was fishing with me on Friday, and I didn't have the cameras running that day because there was 3 of us in the boat and it was really congested. But he caught 3 giants in that Friday before the tournament. He probably had 3 fish for almost 13 pounds out of the back of my boat on a buzzbait, and just it catches those big. I don't think he caught any small ones, but when he caught a fish, it was a big one. So that's really why you want to sling that buzzbait around. All right, so we're down to the final 2, so let's jump into number 2. All right, so my number 2 bait for fall fishing is a bait that I throw. I mean, I've had one rigged up on my rods basically since April, and that is a walking style bait. So I have 2 baits here that I like in particular for the fall. The first one is actually the Strike King Sexy Dog, not the Junior, not the Mega Dog, the original Sexy Dog, the 3-hook one. This is Chrome Sexy Shad. I like that flash. So in the fall, I like that the pitch is a little bit higher, as opposed to like this Vixen. It's a lot harder, but so I really like that Sexy Dog. I feel like it gets a lot of good bites, and I like that sound a little bit better. When I'm starting in the fall, I'm starting with this bait first. And then if I'm not getting bit, or I want to just try a little something different and see what's going on, then I'll switch over to the Vixen, which is more that like deeper pitch rattle. And I'll try a Rover maybe a little bit, and I'll even downsize down to like a regular Spook or Spook 1-knocker or something like that. But my top 2 baits for the walking style baits is going to be that Strike King Sexy Dog and this Reaction Innovations Vixen. This is actually my practice one, that's why the hooks are all bent in. I'm missing that back hook. It's my Praxis Vixen. It's caught a bunch of fish. Same with the Sexy Dogs, caught a bunch of fish. They're just great baits. And like I said, I'll have one tied on. I'll be throwing it every day. Every time I go out fishing between now and when I put the boat up for the winter time, this bait's gonna be thrown. So with that, let's move on to the number 1 bait. Alright guys, so my number 1 bait in the fall, and we hinted at a little bit earlier, is a river to sea whopper plopper. And there's 3 different sizes that I throw in the fall. I'll start with my starting size in the fall is almost always this 110. I really like this 110 size whopper plopper. It gives you that good plop, good profile size bait. You can cast it a long ways, and the hookup ratio is pretty dang good. You can catch some big ones. Small fish also will eat it, so you can get bites. And I like that chrome color. And then so what I do basically when I go out with the whopper plopper is this is a cast and reel in bait. You're looking at a consistent plop plop plop, and you want to go basically, the best success I found on the whopper plopper in the fall is find the windiest bank on the lake. You go to where the most wind is, hitting the bank. You're looking for a rock bank, maybe a cove, maybe a main lake, a sloping point. Basically, it doesn't matter. Bluff, shallow, it doesn't matter. Dirt, they'll be there. When that wind's blowing real hard on the bank, you want to throw that whopper plopper, and the wind's blowing real hard. You want to go all the way up to the 130, The big wobber flopper, it's over an ounce bait, big flop. If they're, and for me, so my starting point is always the 110. If I'm getting bit on the 110 consistently, or the wind picks up to the point to where I feel like I'm not getting a good plop, I'll go up to the 130. If I'm getting bit on the 110, I'm gonna see if they'll bite the 130. Because you're gonna catch bigger fish, better quality fish are gonna be on this bigger 130 bait. And then if they're not biting the 110, or there's not as much wind that day, and I still want that plop, then I'm gonna go down to the 75. For me personally, I don't like the 90. I don't throw the 90. I have 90s. Timmy likes to throw a 90 in the back of my boat when we fish team stuff. For me, I don't like it. I don't feel like it gets a good plop. I don't like the way it runs. The head gets down a lot. I just don't like it. I much prefer the 75, a little thicker, still small nub bait, similar to the 90. It's actually shorter than the 90, but thicker. I just feel like the head gets up better, and it gives you more of the plop sound that you're looking for with these whopper floppers. And so for color for these three baits, I keep it really simple. I'm sticking between chrome, black, or bone. I mean, one of those three colors is gonna work. If it's really sunny out and windy, I'm gonna go with the chrome. The darker the water, I like to go with the black. The lighter the color, the more light the water is, I like to go with the bone. But I'm probably almost always gonna start out with either chrome or bone, and then move to black if I need to. So that about wraps it up, guys, of my top 10 baits for the fall. All of these are going to be tied on to where we're out here shortly. I was hoping to get out fishing tonight, but it just didn't happen. I'm hoping maybe the rain will hold off some of these evenings where we get that cool weather. I'll be out there in a sweatshirt fishing the next couple days. Hopefully finding stuff. We have a benefit tournament coming up this weekend that I'm looking for to fish off the following weekend. Then I have about 3 or 4 weeks off before we go to the Mobass State Tournament and the Club Classic, the 2 championships, or 2 year-end tournaments that we're looking to do really well in. So these are the baits that I'm going to be starting with in all of those events to try to find my fish and see if I can catch them on. So let me know what you guys like down in the comments. Put down in your comments what your top baits are in the fall. Maybe you guys fish something that's different. Maybe it'll help me. Maybe I hope this video helped you. But put your baits down there that you really love in the fall, your #1 bait. Give me a comment on what you think is best. And I'd love to read them and interact with you guys. So really appreciate you tuning in. That's wrapping up my fall fishing. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. I'm looking to do more of these tackle videos and tips and tricks and how I rig stuff and things like that moving forward. So really appreciate you guys watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Check out my YOLO Tech video where we're doing a giveaway once we reach 250 subscribers. We're currently at 181 subscribers, so we're not that far away. We've more than doubled in size this year, and I really appreciate all you guys' support, but there's huge room to grow. 73% of the people that watch this video are not subscribed to the channel. So if you're watching this video and you're not subscribed, click that subscribe button. It'll help me out. We'll grow the channel, and I've looked to do some awesome giveaways in the future. So really appreciate you guys tuning in, hanging out with me for a little bit. Hope you learned something, and let me know what your top baits are in the fall, and hope to see you out on the water, and we'll catch you out in the next one.